Clara had worked in the Ashford mansion for nearly 5 years. She wasn't someone people noticed. She moved quietly through the halls, cleaned without complaining, and kept to herself. The other staff respected her, but the family she worked for barely acknowledged her existence. To them, she was just the maid, especially to Daniel Ashford, the only heir to the Ashford fortune. Daniel had grown up surrounded by wealth, power, and people who treated him like he was untouchable. He carried himself with confidence, which was really just arrogance, and rarely looked twice at anyone who wasn't in his world. To him, Clara was invisible, but despite everything, Clara never spoke back. She never showed frustration. She simply did her job day after day as if she had nowhere else to be. But what no one in that house knew was that Clara had chosen to be there. Years before she ever stepped into the Ashford mansion, Clara had been raised by her grandfather, a quiet, disciplined man who believed in humility above all else. He was also a man with a past he never fully explained. To Clara, he was just her guardian, the man who taught her how to work hard, how to stay grounded, and how to never let money define who she was. When he passed away, he left her something unexpected, a sealed letter and instructions that led her straight to the Ashford estate. Clara never questioned it. She simply did what he had asked of her, becoming a maid in the very house that, unknown to everyone else, was tied to her past. Years passed and Clara kept her head down until the day everything changed. It began with the reading of a will. The Ashford family patriarch had passed away, Daniel's grandfather. The entire household gathered in the grand living room. Lawyers, family members, staff standing quietly at the edges. Clara stood in the back just as she always did, unnoticed, until her name was called. There was a moment of confusion, and then the lawyer spoke again. Clara Whitmore. Every head turned. Daniel frowned. "What does she have to do with this?" he asked, clearly irritated. Clara stepped forward slowly, calm as ever, as the lawyer opened a second document, and what he read next changed everything. Clara Whitmore was named as a primary beneficiary of the Ashford estate. Not a small amount, not a token gesture, a controlling share. Silence filled the room. Daniel laughed at first, thinking it was some kind of mistake. "There's no way," he said. "She's a maid." But the lawyer didn't hesitate. "It is not a mistake." The document was clear, signed, verified, final. Daniel's expression shifted. Confusion turned to disbelief, and that disbelief turned to anger. "This doesn't make any sense," he snapped. "Why would my grandfather give anything to her?" That's when Clara spoke, not as a maid, but as someone who finally had nothing to hide. "Because he knew who I was," she said calmly, and the room went still. Clara reached into her bag and pulled out the sealed letter her grandfather had left her. She handed it to the lawyer, and he opened it carefully and began to read. Inside was the truth the Ashford family had buried for decades. Clara's grandfather had once been business partners with Daniel's grandfather, and together they had built the foundation of the Ashford empire. But when success came, so did greed. Clara's grandfather had been pushed out, his name erased, his contributions forgotten. Everything he helped build was taken, but he didn't fight it. He simply walked away and raised his granddaughter with values the Ashfords had long abandoned. But Daniel's grandfather had never truly forgotten. In his final years, he tried to make things right, so he chose the one person who deserved it, Clara. The room was silent again, but this time it was different, heavier. Daniel stood there, speechless. Everything he thought he knew about his family was unraveling in front of him. He looked at Clara differently now. She was someone who had every right to stand where she was. "Why didn't you say anything?" he asked, his voice lower now. Clara met his gaze, calm and steady. "Because I wasn't here for recognition, I was here to understand." And now she did. Daniel didn't know what to say. For the first time in his life, his position, his power, they all meant nothing, because the truth had shifted everything. And Clara, she didn't gloat, she didn't even stay. After the legal process was complete, Clara made one final decision. She kept what was rightfully hers, but she didn't take over the Ashford mansion. She didn't try to become part of a world that had never truly been hers. Instead, she rebuilt what her grandfather had lost. Years later, Clara Whitmore became known as a woman who rebuilt a legacy with integrity. And Daniel, he learnt something no amount of wealth had ever taught him, that respect isn't given by status, and the people you overlook may be the ones who hold the truth that changes everything, because sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one with the most powerful story. See you in the next story.